Obviously, my name's Andrew. Good to see you all. My name's Andrew, and I'm a recovering journalist. But I still have a commitment to the truth, which is why I teach journalism today. It's pretty important to me. And my spark for tonight starts back a couple years ago when I was leafing through the Bible to us journalism professors, the AP style book, when I noticed there was no entry for cannabis or marijuana. And I lived in Colorado, and I think that's a problem. So I decided to create a class about reporting on marijuana because I thought it was important and I thought my students could benefit. So today, luckily, it's in there, and we can talk a little bit more about this as reporters. And we start, of course, with the facts. That's the most important thing, and I understand the facts are under attack today. But we start with debunking myths, and we talk about the history of this. And we talk a little bit about what it was like for our students to hear stuff like this, that marijuana is the most dangerous thing of all time. And you'd be forgiven if you thought that this was our current Attorney General saying this, right? But this actually is the message that's been propagated since the 1930s, in fact, right? And every good story starts with somewhat of a villain. And our story starts with Harry. Not a fan, right? As soon as alcohol prohibition ended in 1933, he had a problem with cannabis. The assassin of youth is what he called it. So he took his crusade into the media. He was really good at the media. Manipulating the media is something that can be done, right? Given the right tools of the day. And the press, I'll take the fall for journalism that we did this, in the sense, right? But this message propagated for decades. And this article actually, I mean, goodness gracious, could you imagine the beer halls of Denver polluted by poisonous weeds? That's what you see today, right? And this message went up to when I was a kid, right? And I had to sort of negotiate this and understand this big lie, right? I mean, I had the Dare to Keep Kids Off Drugs sticker on my Trapper Keeper, right? How did this go, right? How were the 80s? There was a lot of really difficult things going on with the drug war, and the drugs are still winning since then. And just say no was the message of the day, but the message of the day today is very different in America in 2017. The left coast, green. The Northeast, green. You can count on one hand how many states still have prohibition. And this is a good conversation to have, right? Because it's big business. Last year in North America, we spent more money on cannabis than Starbucks and McDonald's combined. In cash. So this is sort of a problem, right? But in Colorado, we've been doing this for a little while. 2000, we had medical marijuana. We have had initiatives in Denver that have started changing the landscape. And then, of course, 2012, right? Amendment 64. We're still trying to get Issue 300 implemented so social use can happen. Because it's important. Even though more than 64,000 people died of opioids in 2016, we're seeing if cannabis can solve that. It's not going to solve journalism. It's not going to solve the opioid crisis. But since legalization, things are changing here, right? And we're seeing this firsthand. And we're seeing it firsthand in Denver. The urban map is changing. Those dark purples, that's the most money. There's not a lot of cultivation. There's not a lot of dispensaries there. So what is it like for the people in the lighter areas where there is more of that? I want my students to tell those stories from their perspective. The people working in the industry, in these facilities, the people who are being taxed at 20% on a $1.4 billion price tag from retail and medical marijuana, right? Find the people, they're going to tell you the stories. We start with a story of a young man in my class when we watch a documentary about the Denver Post and their cannabis project. His name's Landon. Chemotherapy wasn't working. He stopped chemo. His mom started on THC, CBD, and then, of course, the Child Protective Services came after her. He's moving towards good health, but we don't know the science on this, right? And Landon's story is one of many, because this is America's new normal, where people are having conversation around the dinner table and in halls of power. And we need to keep those halls of power accountable and moving forward on this project, right? Because this is changing this country. And it's changing it because it's big business, right? This might seem like a stoner's fever dream. We can smoke Bob's stash, man. But this is a major investment company that has a 30-year agreement with the Marley family to sell this. How are these partnerships going to change? What does big weed look like, right? And what does it look like when you travel to Washington, D.C.? A gift economy, where for $80 you can get a really motivational speech and a corresponding gift of marijuana. Nothing like here in Colorado, right? But in any event, when you come home to Colorado, you can go to the grocery store and talk to a wellness specialist and get briefed on full-spectrum hemp extracts and how they might help your ailment. And it's a confusing thing, and it's a confusing message for people, including our kids, right? I'm a dad, and I want to have a responsible conversation about this stuff. And that's what we're doing here tonight, and I thank you for listening. And what's next? California. biggest marijuana market in the world, going online in next month. And of course, what are the feds going to do? We need to deschedule marijuana so we can have better clinical trials and that we can have a better understanding of what's actually happening here. So, thanks very much. And of course, keep holding truth